Why are US elections so important for India? Hello everyone,
I am Rahul Devdar.
I am Prasanna Naidu and you are listening to the RightVIEWS Podcast. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, even Indians are talking about this. So why is this so important? I mean, the elections are going on far away from India in the United States of America, but still it is a kind of a globally important event and India is also concerned about it a lot. My guess is it is about the geopolitical arena and the international relations and the relations between India and United States. That also affects when the government changes in the United States. So, Rahul sir, can you just give some insights about the past India and US relations and maybe also tell something about the Trump era?
That's a very good question and probably a very long one also. But yes, in fact, US elections and US government is very crucial for everyone in the world. Not just because it determines the geopolitical angle of the geopolitical direction of world policy, but United States is the biggest economic market for most of the world countries. So it determines your trade policy and your potential economic growth also. Now, all this from India's point of view is even more critical because India and US, we have made many mistakes in the past. So, like when India became free, United States, and to a certain extent, um, United States and the Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was the president of United States during Second World War, his insistence that Britain and France and European powers give freedom to all their colonies in return for help given by America in World War II, that is responsible for us and all other countries getting freedom to a certain extent. So, what freedom we say Gandhi gave us, Gandhi did not give us the freedom. What happened was a transfer of power, and a credit, part of the credit also goes to the Americans. Not large part, but definitely some part we have to acknowledge. Now, in that scenario, when India became free, America was the first country to invite India into this group of democratic nations, because America, the oldest democracy, and India was one of the largest democracy in the world. In that time, let me not point fingers, but we were busy looking inward and we decided to become non-aligned. Now, this non-alignment is basically not any specific policy, but because India was being chased by two superpowers, post-World War superpowers, Russians, which were at our doorstep, and Americans, who were the global superpower who had emerged after World War II. And we chose to remain non-aligned, but in fact, we really aligned with the Russians. Now, what happened that because we remained non-aligned and we tried to act smart, Pakistan took advantage and joined with Americans. And because Americans needed a strategic, let's say, geopolitical point, base, maybe you can call it a base, they already had bases, but a stronghold within Asia to control sort of the Russian communism and socialism, which from spreading across the world. So Pakistan used that opportunity and joined with Americans, which turned out to be a problem in the next, and they started becoming aggressive with us. Then after China, that is the Democratic Republic of China, that is what is now Taiwan, and Mao had the China, Mao and this Democratic Republic of China, they had a fight, and this government, which is now Taiwan, was chased away by Mao's farmers. That time, the position which China held was taken away because communism was spreading in China. and was offered to India. And India again refused it. And India went closer and closer to the Russians. And that kind of created a, you can say, we don't rely on each other. They created a suspicious relationship between the two countries. And that was finally broken. And to add to that, India became a nuclear power without signing the treaty. And we did not, and again we did the 1999, Pokhran explosions. All this, there were always skirmishes, and the US narrative has always been controlled by Pakistan.
Not now, I think.
No, even now, and that is the reason. Even now, in the sense, not as much, but definitely it is controlled. It was controlled, let's say, till Barack Obama's time.
That percentage of control US has almost on every country.
No. Pakistan controlled the US view on India. I'm not saying US controlled Pakistan. That is fine. But Pakistan controlled how to view India. It was always viewing India in a very different manner. And all these adventures of our government, which were, against US, did not help. So the key breaking, what you can say, the first ice breaking in the relationship happened through Israel. There are multiple things going around, but you can say when Narasimha Rao in 1990 or 91, he had a meeting with Israel's prime minister, and he also had a meeting with Palestinian Yasser Arafat also. So he was the only world leader who could meet both of them, and so it sort of created a positive vibe on the Israeli front, and Israel has been our go-between to the ice breaking happening between India and America. And then famously Clinton came, and Clinton had an affinity for India. So, but yet you find that the relationship between India and US was not as warm as we should have expected between the world's largest democracy and the world's oldest democracy. The ice breaking happened in Clinton's time, but the progress was very slow. But it was deliberate. It was continuing progress in Bush era, but Bush was busy with Afghanistan and all that, tackling Osama bin Laden after 9/11. And Bush wanted India to join forces with boots on ground.
I guess Bush administration also helped us a lot to become a nuclear power. Is it?
Yes. They did not help us. In fact, they hindered us. But the sanctions continued, and the sanctions were imposed by Democrats, not Republicans. But the sanctions continued. Okay. We did not give any reason to Democrats or Republicans to side with us. Pakistan gave them enough ammunition to control their point of view, control US point of view on India. And what happened was that in that time, in Bush time, Bush wanted, it would have been easy if India had committed, 10,000, 15,000, I don't know, 20,000 troops to go in Afghanistan behind Osama bin Laden. We would have had a better relation, but it would have created repercussions back in India, or for whatever reason we chose not to do it. Then in Obama's time, this strategy was continuing, but our current external affairs minister and Obama's team had an intensive discussion, and Obama came to the conclusion slowly and surely, this, what we are seeing in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, and all this area, and the terrorism, India is actually speaking and understanding it, the Indian understanding and Indian strategy, Indian thought process is right. That's what they realized. And Dr. Jaishankar was able to achieve a sort of alignment between US and India. And this alignment, in principle, it was always there. Because since George Bush became president, the George W. Bush, there was some sort of an alignment that we are, in a similar situation, but that never translated into an agreement, which finally happened during Obama's time. But Obama was not very, you can say he did not go all out, but he paved the way definitely. And now in Trump's era, we find that there is a distinctive, progress on India-US relations. And particularly it has been helped by China, like we discussed in the previous episode, that China has in fact created a quad, and China is actually helping US and India get together. So it has really happened, it has progressed, and now we are on to possibly Biden era, maybe not, maybe we will see. But this is the historical context in which India-US relations have been. India-US relations on the economic side have always become better and better since Clinton's time. Since India liberalized, Clinton was in office that time in America, the trade relations improved dramatically, though India was always placed second to China. And this is, China kept on gaining and India kept on losing. That is a historical fact. China took advantage in a more direct manner. They acted decisively. Indian government continued to dilly-dally, and we conducted nuclear tests, so there were all some apprehensions, and now all those apprehensions have sort of died away. And at this time we are looking at a Biden presidency, and unfortunately his vice president candidate Kamala Harris has made some really unfortunate remarks on Kashmir, on CAA, and it really shows lack of application of mind on part of Kamala Harris. I am not completely convinced of Kamala Harris's stand on various issues and how flexible that stand is, but she's definitely not making the right noises. Her advisors, the group of advisors that she hobnobs with, are clearly anti-Indian, and they have clearly no understanding of the laws, and they have been blinded by these narratives peddled by Pakistan or anti-India forces. So we have to be exceptionally careful in handling Kamala Harris. But thankfully, Dr. Jaishankar, and I've heard his speech when he had just retired as a external, he just retired as a ambassador, I think. So he is very smart, and not just very smart, he is strategic thinker, and that guy is, I'm happy. For whatever it is worth, if Sushma Swaraj is not the, Sushma Swaraj was very good in interpersonal relations globally, but Jaishankar is not just strategic. I really don't know how strategic Sushma Swaraj was on her own merit. She definitely had a good team, but Dr. Jaishankar definitely is a very smart external affairs minister. So we can expect,
maybe because he has a lot of experience there. He has served as a foreign secretary and diplomat and all.
No,
And
many times what happens is that when they have experience, they generally don't have the strategic direction. They can execute what strategic direction you have. So you need, not just tact and all that, qualities of a bureaucrat, a foreign services bureaucrat, but you also need a direction which is, it just a vision which I think he has. At least in, whenever he talks, or the talk that I heard, and whatever talks he has given, particularly after he retired, because when he is in office, he cannot say many things. Okay. So you have to really catch on to what he's saying when he has got some freedom to express what he has wants to express. At that time, what you can say is, he's given a few speeches, a few in Singapore, few in India, and few across the world also. He's been very, very articulate and he's got good vision. So I'm sure he will work out a strategy with Biden and particularly Harris, because most people believe that it is Harris who will drive the India side rather than Biden.
Yeah, let's talk more about the economics of this, like the relation related to trade and all. Because when we think about U.S. elections or something like that, in general, international politics, we have people more talk about the strategic importance of it, the geopolitical importance of it, like one how that country may help us during war, how it can help us militarily, etc., etc. But
Right.
as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, that how the trade relations improved between US and India and all, how important is that, and in future what do you see between us and US?
That's a very, very critical question, I would say. And if you see, you have to go back to 1950s, 60s and see the model that has been followed by all developing countries to grow. And the model has been that to export your stuff into US. So Japan followed this model. They made lots of products and exported them. Southeast Asia, including Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, they followed that model. Then China followed that model, and China and India a little later started that model, but we didn't follow through as much on that model. Okay. Unfortunately, today that model is almost broken. So this is the trade model where US acts as a consumer market for all your products. So you make your products for US. So India used to make clothing. India was one of the biggest textile suppliers to US, including your T-shirts, your women's garments, your furnishings like curtains, bed sheets, those kinds of things. Lot of products went from India. Now that has been taken over by Bangladesh, and the high tech side of it, which is computers, mobile phones, that was always with China, and China is progressing. Now, unfortunately, we are at a point where America realized under Trump that the manufacturing, this model where everyone supplies to US and US, they don't buy anything from US, is really not very good for American employment, because America has been suffering from underemployment. Even though employment, many people may be employed, and the employment statistics, in Trump's time, the employment was very high, but it was underemployment. So let's say you are a graduate, then you want to get a job which earns a decent income. So you don't get that job. Instead, you get a job which a 10th standard guy should get. So that became a problem, and you are not able to sustain your family. So what the entire game is that the people who are voting for Trump, they realize that the income of one person is not able to sustain his own lifestyle, not his family, his own lifestyle, where he can buy a car, have a house, a small house, not an independent house, but a small house, have a car, and go about his normal job without getting into debt. That is not happening, and that is what is the dissonance. And Trump, I mean, rightly or wrongly, if you consider the new theories, but he believes that that is because the jobs are going out of America into China, into Southeast Asia. So this model will not be working. So India in this time cannot expect, even though it's Biden or Trump, that we will get as much a share of US trade as a US consumer market as we would have got in 1991. So that opportunity loss will always hurt us. If we are not, as that time, if we would have been really smart, we would have gotten all the opportunity to become the exporter of choice for America. But we didn't, whatever reason. Today we are not
I
going to
think
be.
that time we had more state control, right? More socialistic policies were there, and later on,
We still have
opened up,
socialistic quality, policies.
but
From
still
after 91, we haven't.
comparatively.
No, after 91, technically, we haven't done much reform. I mean, whatever we have done is not going into the core reform side, core of the need for reform. What we have done is improved, made it better. So we have done polishing, but we haven't done a, real reform. That is separate topic. But so today, not just India. So India will have to look for markets not only in US but also across the world. But US not raising some rapid, US under Trump was very, very, you can say, unpredictable. So one fine day, suddenly Trump will slap tariffs on BMWs and Germany will be his opponent. Another day, he will wake up and slap tariff on Japan and suddenly Japan will be his opponent. So he was quite unpredictable in terms of trade. That will go away under Biden. Then we'll have more predictable policies, but then we'll still not get as benefit as we can expect, as we would have done, in 91 or 2001, that time. Other thing what Biden will do is probably Biden will be applying the same rules with China. The Trump was going singularly after China. We will definitely exclude China and focus on non-Chinese trade partners equally. And as we discussed last time, if you see, Obama also got into this. He understood this because China started building on the islands in South China Sea. So Obama created this Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is basically economic trade alliance which excludes China. But unfortunately, Obama just left the ASEAN countries high and dry. So ASEAN countries are not now trusting America. And I don't know how they will trust America. But they will be in trouble if Biden withdraws from China. So that is a geopolitical side. And that will affect trade with everyone. Because if China is still competing for the same trade as we are, then China will win. China manufacturing is far ahead of us unless we catch up using better policies.
Okay, so how does our relations between US will affect our politics with China? As in, some few points which I can say is yes, US can impose some trade sanctions, as in the trade war is going on between India and China. It can take a stronger stance there in order to show some support to us while our clashes are going on at Galwan and so. But apart from that, how does it help us?
Actually, the initial reports, and I don't know how much to trust these reports, are that Biden is not as anti-China as Trump. In fact, some people are saying he might be, quite pro-China. So, one group believes that clashes along the border between India and China will only amplify because of Biden, if Biden wins the presidency. But that is not so clear because, while everyone believes that US president has, he can do anything on international front, the fact is that China has posed a threat to US in not just India's term. India is just one front. If you look at US China, India is just one part of the place where China is creating the problem.
Right.
And China is creating problem everywhere. So it is better to have India counter China. For if you're US, you would have, it will be helpful for you because if you try to fight China in Taiwan, India is not going to send troops to Taiwan to help US fight China. Okay, that India is not going to do. That they also know. But if India is definitely fighting China when, in the Himalayan borders here, at least we can support them. That's the, easiest thing to do. So to that extent, I think, we still have no clarity. So one school of thought says that Biden is pro-China, so there might be escalation in India-China border conflicts. But I foresee that, if you see anyways, US should be helping India. So I see, we might be still better off. But no one is as aggressive against China as Trump. So you don't expect, there will be two battle groups roaming around in the Taiwan or near Singapore. That may be a little, thing to worry. Plus, during Obama, see, you will get geopolitical confidence if you have trade confidence. Okay. So when Obama sort of not sacrificed, but he just left ASEAN high and dry during critical moments when China was building that infrastructure in South China Sea. Now, Obama may think that US-China policy can be reworked. Okay. But ASEAN, the reality is that there are islands where Chinese bombers can land. So it is a reality for ASEAN. And ASEAN, all the countries are like economically now threatened because they are dependent on China. Geopolitically, they are threatened and they can't take another stand like joining TPP and they have to temper it down, their agreement, because if China becomes aggressive, they have a worse chance because of all these developments. So they are wary. So all this is putting pressure on, the US allies. It's not putting pressure on China, which is what we wanted. So Trump was directly putting pressure on China. And that was helping India. It was also, that is, so now what happens is when you put pressure on China tries to demonstrate that it is muscular by doing some adventure against India. When India was not successful, they did some boundary dispute with Nepal and captured some territory. Now, so it's like, bullies trying to experiment who can be bullied and tries to bully that person. They tried to bully Bhutan. India stood up for Bhutan. But against Nepal, we didn't stand up because Nepal was trying to act smart with us. So now we said, Nepal, you deal with China. Now Nepal couldn't deal with China. So they got their territory. China captured some territory from Nepal. So all these things matter on the ground. And because Biden is not as decisively anti-China, it might lead to some problem for India in one way or the other. The first test for US policy will come from the Taiwan, Hong Kong, that side. See, one of the things that Biden has said that he will pursue human rights violations. And the example that they have given is that Kashmiri people's human rights are being violated, 370 and all. This is what Kamala Harris gave. Okay. Now, I mean, I don't know what they are drinking, but they really should, not make such comments without understanding. But then, will they, like China is trying to bully us and they are not able to bully us, so they are bullying Nepal. US will try to bully China. Uyghur Muslims, you are doing some detention camps. They can't bully China because China will stand up to them. So they might bully us. Okay.
No, but what will they get by bullying us?
Just to show. It's a show.
Show what? Like they are powerful.
No, see, the thing is, in any relation, you have to have give and take, right? So you want to make India give up something so that you give some benefit to India. So what will India give up? So they will say ki you give up you will restore 370. They are not going to say that because once they come into the office, they will realize what is the documents that only president and these guys have access to. But imagine that if they make a if they make a deal, ki you reinstate 370 and we will support you against China. Do you think he can reinstate 370? He'll never reinstate 370.
At least this government won't.
At least this, yeah. Unfortunately, that is important. And I hope if such a demand comes, that it is made public that US wants us to reinstate 370, otherwise it will not help us.
Hmm.
so that
If it if it's made public, then the other government also won't do it. Otherwise,
that's why that's why. So
yeah.
the thing is, ki, if you do that, and if that kind of stupid policy is put on the dealing table, then we will not have much choice. We will have to say to US, ki, we are not going to be partners with you, and that will break the quad. So if let's say Biden is China's stooge, as he is called by Trump,
Hmm.
so then Biden will not break the quad himself. He will put these kinds of conditions. You do this, you hold a referendum in Kashmir or do something, idiotic.
Hmm.
And then, or we will sell, or he will try to sell F-16s to Pakistan or something like that. And then that will be, basically breaking the quad. He will force India to break the quad. Now, if that happens, then it's really unfortunate. So we have to watch out and we have to explain this to America. Hopefully, they have the sense to understand it. But looking at their elections, I'm surprised that, I'm not surprised that if they don't have any sense.
No, but that the election procedure is carried out by some other authority, not these people, right? They may
No,
be
no,
having some. I don't know. They may be
no,
having some commission and.
the thing is, Parliament or their Congress has the power to decide on the procedure, right?
Hmm.
And there are some very simple things you have to at least have a photo ID. I mean, is that too much to ask? They are having the same. I can't believe this,
Yeah,
but
I agree on
America.
that point that they must have some uniform law regarding elections throughout the states. As they have too much autonomy within every state, but at least for elections, the presidential elections, they must have some uniform law.
See, the thing is, there is a difference between how the state and the government is structured. The center and the government the states are differently structured. So there, the states come together to give the center. So
Hmm.
the center can't tell the state anything, more. Like in
Hmm.
India, the center has got states. State did not come
Hmm.
first. In
Right.
US, the states came first.
Hmm.
So it's a little different, but at least some basics you can establish, right? You can have a procedure. You have to do a dance before you can vote. That all you can do. Every state can install its own procedure, but every state needs to have an ID card. At least that much you can insist. And I'm surprised to hear the news. Like, if you really change the news, if you change the actors, the news coming out of Bihar in 1991, Lalu's time, and
Hmm.
that coming out of US in 2020 is the same.
That is.
That is the biggest tragedy. Someone on Twitter said that in on November 3rd or whatever, in this week of November, US and Bihar both are going to go for an election, and we are going to be sure about results from one place, and that is Bihar. It's unbelievable. I never thought in my life that this is what the news will be. I mean, the shock value. I mean, if you have seen the booth capturing news of 91 and 92 in Bihar,
Hmm.
it was like, the whole booth. I mean, it was not, you might think that booth capturing is a word and it is not really booth capturing, but it was a really booth capturing. They captured the booth, took it away, and then, went to one place, they stamped all the. This is what happened. It was horrendous. We were like, is what kind of banana republic is Bihar? Lalu and these guys were there. And why blame Bihar? Why blame Bihar? This was there in Tamil Nadu also. Yeah, not just, I mean, I'm saying that booth capturing on that scale was not just in Bihar, but there are many parts of India where this used to happen. And then when session came, TN session, and election commission really got behind free and fair elections and early results and transparent process, and it was really improved. Today we can definitely say that Indian election process, with all the limitations we have, power is not there, some places are very inaccessible, roads are not there. Considering all this and 900 million voters, we conduct our election really well.
Yeah, I think one beautiful example is that we have booths everywhere. There was also a movie where
Yeah, documentary on this.
yes, the actor was Rajkumar Rao, and
Uh,
they had shown that how this guy makes sure that elections are being conducted in a Maoist area.
no, I didn't see that. I'd love to see that. But that's there's a documentary on Indian elections. It's a fantastic piece that there is one place where they have to do a 10-hour walk and then cross the river and then do another 10-hour walk and then be there at that place. And the procedure is that the booth should open at 8 or whatever and close at 5, and it should remain open for all those times. Okay, so there is only one voter,
I have heard that. Yes.
and he comes in and he says, I come back well, but they can't go, so I wait for them. So he comes with food and all, and then they have food, and then once he has finished voting at 5 o'clock, they have to file the report, they have to do the reverse trek all over again for that one person.
Yes.
But they do it, and that's a fascinating thing. And inaccessible, power goes, so you have that VWAP, but there's no power, but still it has to work. All sorts of challenges.
Okay. So, not going more into elections now. On that note, we will end this episode. Hope you enjoy the media drama about these elections, and we
Don't
hope
take it too seriously. Don't take it too seriously. Hopefully, a sense will prevail, and both presidents, whoever comes, will be better for India.
Yeah, hope.
And the world.
Yes. So, thank you all for listening to this episode, and do follow us here to get notified about the new episode. And also, you can check out our Twitter handles and the YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you.